Hi there, your best detective and storyteller Harley Sawyer is here. How are you all? In this video, I will be talking about the secrets of Prototype and Poppy from Poppy Playtime. Enjoy watching! Before making this video, I did some in-depth research and analyzed all the comments and questions that came to Mob Entertainment about this topic one by one, and with the help of artificial intelligence, I made the questions into a whole topic. Long story short, in this video I will answer the most curious questions about this topic, offer my theories, and unravel some secrets. So let's get started right away. Poppy and the Prototype are two of the most mysterious characters in the Poppy Playtime universe. We can learn who they really are, who they were before they were turned into experiments, from the details in each chapter. With the release of Chapter 4, we learn that there is a hidden connection between Poppy and the Prototype. This gives us a clue about who they were in real life before they were turned into experiments. In the chapters before Chapter 4, it was never mentioned in Chapters 1, 2, and 3. Poppy always told us that she hates the Prototype and what kind of villain the Prototype is. We met Poppy at the end of Chapter 1, freeing her from the cage she had been trapped in for so long. Then we became closer with her in Chapters 2, 3, and 4. According to the details in the chapters we have played so far, Poppy is one of the most important experiments of the Playtime Company. We know that Elliot Ludwig, the founder of Playtime Company, founded Playtime Company in the 1930s. He lost his daughter in an accident in the 1950s or 1960s. Elliot Ludwig, who lost his daughter, starts working hard and wants to bring his daughter back to life. The beginning of living toy experiments, to put it more precisely, is associated with the death of Elliot Ludwig's daughter and Elliot Ludwig's beginning of living toy experiments. He recruited supervised, intelligent, skilled, and intellectual scientists and doctors to the factory to begin living toy experiments. According to the idea of scientists, humans transferred to the toy do not grow old and do not die. If there will be not a plot twist, we believe that Poppy is Elliot Ludwig's daughter and that the Prototype is Elliot Ludwig. Poppy was created to bring Elliot Ludwig's dead daughter back to life, meaning Poppy came back to life thanks to the experiments. So, what do you think is the reason for the Prototype's interest in Poppy? This is how we understand from the details and dialogues in chapters that the Prototype is trying to protect Poppy, trying to protect her by putting her in the cage we saw at the end of Chapter 1. But why? We know that the Prototype is working on some kind of experiments, but we don't yet understand the purpose of these experiments. We know that years ago, humans were turned into living toy experiments in the factory. The humans who were turned into experiments were usually orphan children because there would be no one to go after the orphan children and look for them. The authorities were thinking like that. To make the answer clear, the Prototype and Poppy's true identities are probably Elliot Ludwig and his deceased daughter. This is not officially proven. Maybe we'll officially solve this mystery with the release of Chapter 5. We have to wait for now. We don't yet officially know what the Prototype looks like, but we have some theories about this. The 3 photos shared by Mob Entertainment actually give us clues about how the Prototype looks. There are 2 hidden details in this photo shared on Halloween, one about the Prototype and the other about the player. Here is a face shape carved into a pumpkin, and next to it is another pumpkin carved in the shape of a poppy flower. I think this detail was not put here for nothing. As you can see, there is only one eye on the pumpkin carved in the shape of a face. This most likely symbolizes what the Prototype actually looks like. And the pumpkin carved in the shape of a poppy flower symbolizes Poppy. The connection between the Prototype and Poppy is reflected everywhere. And here is the second hidden detail. Here we see a hand holding the tree. Who do you think this hand could belong to other than the player? All we know about the player so far is that we, the player, are an ex-employee of the Playtime Company. We returned to the factory after 10 years because of a letter we received. We are an ex-employee, but when we met the doctor, he didn't really recognize us, as if he had never seen us. We don't know what kind of ex-employee we are, but it's clear that we're definitely not a doctor or a scientist. If we were, the doctor would certainly know us. We will probably know about the player's real identity in Chapter 5. Fun fact, some people think the player is Leith Pier, which is not true. Leith Pier is said to have survived the Hour of Joy, but we don't know how true this is. There are two mysterious details in this photo shared at Christmas. Here is a photo. In front of the Playtime factory, we see a jester holding a poppy flower. This photo was probably inspired by this photo. Most people think that this image of a jester has something to do with the prototype. The second hidden detail is here. We see the prototype's claw. Let's pay attention to the starting point of the claw. We see the yellow and blue colors. In the jester picture we just saw, pay attention to the jester's arms. We see the same colors. In this photo shared for the new year, we see the prototype and Poppy face each other. The prototype is holding a poppy flower in his claw, just like the jester is holding it in the jester picture we just saw. Let's look carefully at this part. We see the yellow and blue colors I just mentioned here as well. I think these details were not put for nothing. It is very clear that we will see the integration of these details in Chapter 5. I'm thinking the prototype and jester connection is a very important thing. We will see. By the way, I found a fan art about the prototype's appearance. This fan art shows the connection between the prototype and jester. I really like this fan art and wanted to add it to this video. As I've mentioned in previous podcasts, the prototype serves a purpose we don't know about. He watched us in all the chapters we have played so far, and sometimes appeared in front of us. In Chapter 2, he took the body of Mommy Longlegs. In the scene where we fought Catnap in Chapter 3, he came from above and killed Catnap and took his body. In Chapter 4, he blew up the safe haven, and the ventilation shaft where Poppy, Kissy, and us were. If we go back to the past, in 1995, a few days after the Hour of Joy incident, he found and killed Dr. Jessica Newman. And around the same time, he turned Dr. Preston Willard into a living toy. By the way, Preston Willard ain't the player. Just know this before making any theory. If we get to the point, the prototype is a very powerful and invincible villain. It looks like our mission will be quite challenging in Chapter 5. But the main question is, what is the purpose of the prototype? We can easily solve this thanks to the details and mysteries of Chapter 4. There is a purpose behind the prototype's desire to get Poppy. In the dialogue between Poppy and the prototype at the end of Chapter 4, the prototype implies that he knows everything about Poppy and what they really are, but Poppy tries to escape this fact. She hates the prototype for some reason, which is, we don't know. Based on all this information, I have a theory and I want to share it with you. The prototype actually wants to turn himself and Poppy back into a human form. Strange, isn't it? I don't think all this effort is for nothing. We know that the prototype can make living toy experiments and turn humans into living toys. He can treat wounded living toys, just like he healed Huggy. That's why he was asking the doctor for help, as we heard in one of the VHS tapes in Chapter 4. It is possible that he wants to transform himself and Poppy into human form and leave the factory forever. But this never happens. The prototype could have done this after 1995, before we return to the factory, but the fact that he didn't want to hurt Poppy is a sign of this. Poppy once said in Chapter 3 that she wants the prototype to die somehow. But she also said that we are the only solution to this. So, according to Poppy, we somehow have to kill the prototype. From a logical standpoint, the prototype was Elliot Ludwig, founder of the Playtime Company, before he was turned into the experiment 1006. He wanted to be a part of these experiments himself in order to bring his deceased daughter back to life. Like other experiments, they put him on the operating table, removed his vital organs, and transferred him to the prototype form. Other doctors and scientists admired his intelligence, and we learn from this proof that the prototype was an adult human. Alfie's details describes Elliot Ludwig. As a clear answer to the question, I can say that the purpose of the prototype is to transform himself and Poppy back into human form and leave the factory forever. The father-daughter connection shows itself clearly here. My favorite topic is Poppy Elliot Ludwig's dead daughter? Well, some people say that this is not true, or even that it is a complete lie. I can definitely tell you that the situation is as you think. Poppy is Elliot Ludwig's daughter, who he lost in an accident. And I have proof for that.
It was awful. So awful. I didn't want... This wasn't what I thought we were gonna leave. Leave the factory. Not this. All those people. Prototype says we can't leave. Not now, not ever. I hate him. I hate him, and I hate this place, and I hate that he's... right. He explained everything, and he's right. We can't leave. It's too risky. What they did to us, we can't ever let it happen to us or anyone ever again. Doesn't make me feel better about the bodies, though. What he was saying about them. I know there's not really another option. The toys will starve otherwise. They'll die. But it's still disgusting. I wish you were here, Dad. I could really use one of your talks right about now. You'd know what to say. When you were running this place, you always knew what to say. I miss you.
In this tape, Poppy is clearly talking about her father and mentioning that he used to run the factory. She talked about the hour of joy, the people who died there. The tape we just listened to is clearly the answer to the question. Poppy is Elliot Ludwig's daughter. I'm a little undecided about this. It depends on whether Chapter 5 will be the final chapter or not. If Chapter 5 will be the final chapter, we will probably solve it. We've been hearing the names of both the prototype and Poppy for 4.5 years since 2021. I don't think this mystery should last so long. As of 2026, it's been 5 years since the first chapter released, and we still don't know for sure what kind of mystery is between the prototype and Poppy. Hopefully we'll be able to solve this mystery in Chapter 5. I don't think Chapter 5 will be boring and without mystery. The developers will surely give us a chance to solve the mystery. Well, the last question is Experiment 1007 Poppy or the prototype? Experiment 1007 is a complete mystery, and some of the players did not realize it. In a video shared by Mob Entertainment, we see the doctor opening the closed door to Yarnaby. But there is a secret detail here. There is a taped note on the side, and 3 experiment numbers are written on the note. It's exactly here. It says, keep an eye on 1007, 1172, and 1322 on the note. Experiment 1172 is Kissy Missy, and Experiment 1322 is Doey the Doman. But who the fuck is Experiment 1007? We know that the experiment number of the prototype is 1006, but we don't know Poppy's. You might think that she is the experiment 1007, but it ain't true. The Poppy toy was originally produced when Elliot Ludwig's daughter was still alive, and it became the factory's favorite mascot. At that time, there were no living toy experiments even before Elliot Ludwig's daughter Poppy died. When Elliot Ludwig's daughter was brought back to life, she was transferred to one of the toys produced in Elliot Ludwig's daughter's honor while she was still alive, and brought back to life. If you don't understand yet, Elliot Ludwig's daughter's name was Poppy, too. Probably Elliot Ludwig's favorite flower was the poppy flower. Therefore, he named his daughter Poppy and produced Poppy toys in his own daughter's honor. From a logical point of view, the prototype is experiment 1006, and we assume that he is Elliot Ludwig. And we know that Poppy died in 1950s or 1960s, brought back to life thanks to the living toy experiments. If Poppy was the experiment 1007, it would mean that she was turned into an experiment after the prototype. And this is way impossible. After Elliot Ludwig saw that his daughter was brought back to life as a result of the experiments, he wanted to be a part of these experiments himself, and he was turned into the experiment 1006, the prototype. I mean, it is extremely impossible for Poppy to be the experiment 1007. This goes for the prototype as well. As an answer to the question, I can say that we do not yet know who experiment 1007 is. Probably we'll be able to get the answer to this question in Chapter 5. Well, we came to the end. I had a lot of fun answering questions and theorizing. Making a podcast like this before Chapter 5 really made me feel good. I hope Chapter 5 to exceed our expectations. I trust the developers. I know that it will be colorful like Chapter 3 and dark like Chapter 4. We will see references from previous chapters too. And hopefully in Chapter 5 we will clearly solve the mystery of Poppy and the prototype. Maybe we will finally see the father-daughter meeting. Who knows? All right, guys. See you on February 18th. Something big awaits us on Wednesday of next week. Goodbye, and take care of yourself.